I'm Tim, and welcome to Watch You Want. Thanks for logging on. Well, Omega has the Speedmaster Professional, Rolex has the Submariner, and Breitling has the Breitling Navitimer as its icon, and it has been since 1952. Although not the first pilot's watch to feature a circular slide rule, not even the first chronograph. That was their own chronomat in 1942, and the nearly forgotten Mimo Loga, a watch I've never seen, was the first watch of any kind to feature the circular slide rule. The Navitimer, in becoming Breitling's icon, has made that circular logarithmic flight calculator an icon in its own right. You look at this and it's just redolent of aviation. And I don't mean flying in commercial air. I mean goggles. I mean scarves. I mean Spitfires with the canopy rolled back. This is romantic aviation, the way you imagine it, the way you see in Indiana Jones movies. And that's as it should be, because the Breitling, as a mid-century aviation icon, captures that spirit, and I feel that's essential to its appeal. But it's got a great history in real life. Aside from the romance, the watch was originally designed as a pilot's instrument. The chronomat of 1942 was not, and the distinction between the two is that the Navitimer was the first to feature the circular slide rule that enabled all major calculations of rates and averages during flight to be performed on the single wrist instrument. Now this is the Navitimer A23322 reference. Debuted in 2003 and ran through the 2000s. It's 42 millimeters in diameter, stainless steel with a black contrasting stitched calfskin strap. Let's put it on the wrist, talk about the fit, the feel, the look, and continue unpacking the history of this extraordinary watch. Now the bottom line is, at 42 millimeters, this might be the perfect size for a sports watch. It is about 14.5, 15 millimeters thick, so it doesn't sit particularly flush to the wrist. You can see that this is somewhat cuff unfriendly, but as you could imagine, even with a pilot's watch that's become more of a charming relic than a practical instrument, it's designed to fit over long sleeves, not so much under them. And that essential case shape and kind of can side profile is maintained to the present day. Maintains the charm and the authenticity of the watch. I wouldn't really want it pared down to work with a dress cuff if it compromised that beautiful profile, that beautiful visage. And the Navitimer is one of those things you just don't mess too much with. Just like Rolex's Submariner and Omega's Speedy Pro, this is the kind of watch that's a living legend within the catalog. No matter how big or bling or Bentley the rest of the Breitlings get, you've always got to maintain this essential watch, this essential look in the catalog to preserve the credibility and continuity of the brand. And on my wrist, it wears remarkably comfortable. Now, like I said, this is something of the perfect size for a sports watch, and I think that's more of a general rule, because I don't think that you're really going to find many male wrists that are too small for it. My wrist is 6 1/3 inches. That's 16 centimeters in circumference. So realistically, it's one of the smaller wrists out there. Now, I think you could wear this watch comfortably down to less than 6 inches, and you can see just how much the strap flares out from the lug on my wrist. You can see there's a lot of room to sort of shrink the base of my wrist underneath this watch without having it be in any risk of hula hooping. Also, because the watch contains a lot of air, the extreme tumble home internally, the concave profile, the bowl profile of the tachometer, means that a lot of the thickness of this watch is just the distance between the bottom of the crystal and the top of the dial, so there isn't a lot of physical mass here, and it wears very comfortable. And I also want to call out this beautiful calfskin strap. It's very comfortable. It feels great on the wrist. It's supple. It's exactly the thing you'd want to have on your wrist during a transatlantic crossing, by air, of course. Now, the bottom line is that the watch is bulletproof contemporary Breitling inside. This is Breitling's caliber 23, very robust. The watch features both a chronograph that is chronometer certified, so COSC timing accuracy, no worse than -4 + 6 per 24 hours, as it should be with a pilot's watch. Now, it also features a jump date. It is based on a Valjoux 7753, so that is, in the pantheon of automatic winding movements, one of the toughest and often one of the most accurate you can find. It's a true workhorse. Like the Breitling Navitimer itself, it's a precision tool that is beautifully suited to the model and the heritage of durability, because the Navitimer is defined less by what's inside and more by what's outside. And what's outside is that gorgeous 3-register, in this case, 3-register latter-day Navitimer visage. You also have the two-tone of the circular slide rule, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to use that, because a lot of people, I guess they have a affection for the design without really having an appreciation of how it works or how convenient it is. And it really is the ultimate multiplication and division tool. You can get very sharp with this. And I used to fly light aircraft and use something that was only slightly larger, so it's surprisingly practical. Now here's how it works. Basically, anything that you want to multiply, like for instance, let's say we want to multiply 30 by 2. The index is 10 right there, and then you put what you want to multiply right above the index, so 30. And then you find the base where you want to, the base of the number you want to multiply by. So we wanted to multiply 30 by 2, so we go to 20. We look just above it, and there's 60. So that's the key there. What it doesn't do for you is it doesn't track units. It doesn't keep track of the units. So you have to remember, if you're looking at 20 or 60, and if you're multiplying really big numbers, you have to mentally add the zeros just to keep track. Now it can also divide, and it kind of works in reverse. When you want to divide, for instance, let's say I want to divide 60 by 20, it works just like a fraction. You put the number you want to divide over the inner calibration of the divisor, the number that's dividing the top, and so 60 divided by 20, you read it backwards. You read the result at the index. Oh, okay. 60 divided by 2, we'll say. Okay, that's 30. So 60 divided by 2 is 30. Again, you have to keep track of the units, but the math is done for you by the logarithmic scale that's wrapped around the exterior. You want to know the scary thing? Linear versions of this slide rule were used to put men on the moon. But the bottom line is, because there are also calibrations for distance and speed, you can use this watch to calculate aviation functions if you truly wish. Now, I would still advise you to go by GPS, but the bottom line is the Navitimer does continue to include all of the functionality that made it a revelation in 1952. Has a great heritage. It was originally the official watch of the AOPA, the world's largest airplane owners and pilots association. There is some dispute among collectors and historians regarding when the watch was actually introduced. Was it 52 or was it 54, 55? Was it designed by Breitling for the AOPA or for pilots generally? Was it specified? Was it in fact designed by the AOPA and built to spec by Breitling? We don't really know that. All we know is that this watch was born and passed into legend very quickly. It actually predates the Submariner and the Speedmaster Professional, so among icons, you could argue that the Breitling Navitimer is the original, and Breitling likes to boast that this is the oldest continuously produced mechanical chronograph on the market. So not only does it have heritage, but it has continuity. Now this one is an outstanding daily wearer, formal enough to go with a suit, and practical and sporty enough to wear with short sleeves and short pants. This is a go-anywhere type of watch with a beautiful contrasting stitch calfskin strap and a classical pin buckle mechanism. It's very comfortable, easy to size. There is no wrong wrist size for this watch, designed for a purpose, a concrete purpose, a practical purpose. It's the perfect shape, it's the perfect size, it makes no excuses, and it makes very few concessions to pure fashion. This is a purist's piece, whether you're a Breitling purist, a Breitling collector, or just a fan of historic, significant references within the luxury watch world. The Breitling Navitimer is the watch you want.